Hello, everybody. Hi. Hi, it's Chef Val coming to you live on Wednesday, February 12th, 2025. Thank you for joining me today. I'm coming to you from the beautiful state of Michigan, where they keep telling us we're going to get a lot of snow. And it has not really done anything here yet as of 6:39 p.m. Eastern Time. They're predicting we're going to get some snow, which I would thoroughly enjoy because I think snow is beautiful. And I enjoy doing a few things in the wintertime, ice skating, getting out into the snow. I think it's beautiful. I'm not one of those people that complains about it. Hey, I live in Michigan. What do you expect? We're going to have snow. It's the wintertime. We're going to have cold weather. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you are watching right now live, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube, you can say hello in the chat. Just say hello, where you're tuned in from. You can also ask me any questions at all during the live. That's the whole reason why I go live, so that I can answer questions and communicate with you and hear what you all have to say, but also to share some wonderful information about healthy foods and how they can, help heal the body and how you can utilize them and use them, and maybe introduce you to some foods that you're not familiar with that you're going to start incorporating on a regular basis, such as the topic today, which is lotus root. Now, have you had lotus root before? Do you know what it is? Obviously, as the name implies, it's a root, right? Look how pretty it is. It has all those little tubes in it. Kind of looks like a flower, right? And in Oriental medicine, they teach us that when a particular plant looks like a particular organ in the body, it feeds and nurtures that organ. And this looks like your lungs with all those little hollow tubes. Lotus root is the best, well, one of the best plants/food on the planet for your lungs. This is what you want for your lungs. And we feed and nurture the lungs and the large intestines in the fall seasons, according to the 5 transformations of energy. So lotus root starts to become, in my repertoire, when I cook, I start incorporating it more in the colder seasons when it starts to get colder here in Michigan, like fall and winter. So it's fantastic for your lungs. And you know what happens in the wintertime? Sometimes we get a cold and we don't feel good and we're blowing our nose and we cough and we've got congestion in our lungs. We want lotus root, right? Okay. So I'm going to be making lotus root pickles, naturally fermented pickles, which the recipe is on my website. It's my February recipe of the month, pickled lotus root. Every month I have a recipe on my website, and it changes every month, and it stays up there so you can see all the recipes. You have a nice collection of recipes that you can go and look at and choose from. So I am going to show you how to make the lotus root pickles, and I'm also going to show you how to make some lotus root tea. Now, you can get the powdered lotus root tea. The powdered tea is expensive. I'll be honest with you. It's expensive. So you're probably going to have to find this, on the internet, although some health food stores, you may be able to find it. By the way, I'm not endorsed. I don't get any money whatsoever from the selling of this product. Kind of wish I did, but might be able to really help me. But these are just products that I use. I've been using them for many, many years, and they're medicinal and wonderful. Now, there might be other brand names of lotus powder, the lotus root tea powder. This is the one I get. Eden is a company that's located right here in Michigan, so we might as well support them. So you can get the tea, which I have some hot water that I'm bringing to a boil on the stove right now anyways. So I'll show you how I make the tea. So the lotus root is very interesting. It is, as the name implies, it's a root, right? And it grows underwater. So, have you ever been at the lake or something like that and you see the beautiful lotus flowers? Well, underneath the lotus flower plant, as it's growing in the water, is the root, and that would be the lotus root. Now, there's all different types of lotus. So I'm not saying that the lotus that grows like where I live here in Michigan is exactly the same stuff that I have here, because there's different varieties. Now, this root right here, when it's growing underneath the ocean, it has a brown skin on it, which is fibrous. So I actually peeled this. And this was fresh lotus root that I found at an Oriental store. You're usually going to find lotus root at an Oriental store. Health food stores may sometimes have it too, but it's not readily available in regular grocery stores right now on a regular basis. And so over in the Orient, China and Japan, Japanese people, Chinese people, they tend to know more about the healing properties of these incredible medicinal foods. And so lotus root is used a lot more in Oriental cuisine as opposed to cuisine over here, but very medicinal. So as I was saying, when this grows underneath the ground, it's very interesting. It's got a brown skin, and it actually, like, there can be like multiple ones of these little tubes like connected in the underneath the ground. It's pretty interesting. If you pull up a picture of what the lotus root looks like, it'll look, different than this when it's growing in the ground. Now, sometimes when you go to the store, you can find lotus root and it doesn't have the brown skin on it. It's actually packaged in a plastic bag with some water or liquid around it. And so that the lotus root would be better to stay, in the store longer, fresher. The fresh stuff, as with any vegetable, any food that you eat, if it's fresh, it's not going to stay nice as long. Mm-hmm. So what is the flavor of lotus root? Well, it doesn't really have a strong flavor. It is crunchy, and it has a very high water content. So it kind of reminds you of water chestnut. But yeah, I'm trying to think. A water chestnut, I think, has even more water than the lotus root. But you get that kind of idea. It would be kind of crunchy. Now, you can slice this and just eat a slice of it, and it's crunchy. Some people cook it. I'm going to make pickles out of it. I have put this in stir fries mostly because it works very well in stir fries. I've also put this in soup. You want to slice it really thin and slice it in soup. And for pretty presentation, you can leave it like this with the beautiful holes in it, and it looks like a flower, right? Here. I'm just going to cut a piece of it off there. Just one little piece like this, so you can see what it looks like. And yeah, it's so interesting. It's not sweet like a carrot, but it has similar crunch, similar texture as a carrot, which is really nice. I know this isn't a flavor because there's 5 signature flavors: sweet, sour, bitter, pungent, and salty. But this tastes earthy. I guess that would fall in the pungent category, not pungent, bitter category. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, yum. Oh, the water's boiling. The water's boiling, so I'm going to make the lotus root powder tea. So if you just tuned in, thank you very much for tuning in. Leave a comment, say hello, let me know where you're tuned in from. And if you can hit the like button, I would greatly appreciate it. You know, videos on social media run by algorithms. And the best way that you can help the person who is doing the video, if you enjoy the video, is to interact with it. Hit the like button, leave a comment, say hello, ask a question, because then the algorithms go up and more people see it. I don't know if you realize it, but most videos and most things that are on Facebook and YouTube are completely invisible unless the audience interacts with them. So anything that you can do, I would greatly appreciate it. And even if you're watching the recording and you're not necessarily tuned in live to me this evening, but you're watching this later or tomorrow or whenever, go ahead and hit that like button. I would greatly appreciate it. And leave a comment. I always see the comments. So even if you ask a question, 7 to 10 or 2 weeks from now, that's fine. I'll answer the question. Okay. Lotus root tea. Here we go. Here's the lotus root tea. Now, if we go like this and we read the directions, it says boil 1 cup of water and add 1 teaspoon of lotus powder tea and a pinch of sea salt. I have never used 1 teaspoon. I believe that's too much. Just my own personal experience with using the lotus root. I usually do a half a teaspoon, and I have this glass. This is one of my favorite glasses to have hot tea in and stuff. So this is actually going to be more than a cup. This is probably a cup and a half. So you put the powder in. I'm just going to pour hot water over it. And we stir. Now it says to add a pinch of sea salt. I can honestly say I've never done that either to this lotus root tea. Now sometimes what I do, good English, what I have often done, if I have some fresh ginger root, I will grate it and then I'll squeeze it and I'll put fresh ginger juice in here. Yum, that's delicious. And so you can do that. The ginger is very astringent. And of course, ginger has strong anti-inflammatory properties. So if you're taking the lotus root tea for medicinal purposes because your lungs are congested and everything, the little bit of ginger juice is definitely going to help and make it just a little even more better. More better. Here I am with more good English, right? With good English, huh? So I was looking for my cinnamon stick. I have cinnamon sticks. If you wanted to flavor this, maybe you could put a cinnamon stick in it. You could put a pinch of cinnamon, something like that. You don't really need to. You can tell it does turn the tea brown. I think it's too hot for me to try and taste it right now. I'll do that in a minute. Okay. Hold on a minute. I'm still here. There it is. I knew I had this here. Look, I got a cinnamon stick. Put that in there. Have you ever done this? I love this, especially in the wintertime or when it's colder. These are organic cinnamon sticks. And whether I'm drinking lotus root tea or my kikucha twig tea or something, put that in there. And it imparts this beautiful cinnamon flavor in there. So it's just something I like to do too. Okay, so I like to slice the lotus root in a food processor on my slicer blade because the slicer blade will give me very thin, uniform slices. And to make naturally fermented lotus root pickles, you want the lotus root to be sliced very thin. So here's what you're going to need to make the pickles. You're going to need the lotus root. You're going to need ume plum vinegar. This is a salty, pungent, sour vinegar, mostly salty, because when you make naturally fermented food, you need salt to make it fermented. So we got the ume plum vinegar. You're going to need some water. And then you're going to need a jar. This is a pint size ball jar. This works really good. But what you want when you make naturally fermented food is you have to put weight on top of whatever you're fermenting. So if you have two jars where one jar will fit inside of the other jar, like so, this is a nice way to make pickles. This is just a half pint jelly jar with some water in it, so it'll give it some weight. Do you see? So we're going to put the pickles in here, and we're going to put the jar in there, and it's going to weigh it down. Okay, so first of all, let's slice the lotus root in here like so. Okay, sorry, I put my back to the camera. I know that's funky. Sorry. All right, I'm going to turn this on and slice it. All right, so this makes beautiful. Look at these beautiful slices. They're so beautiful. That's another great thing about lotus root. It is so beautiful. Look at this. Look at my slices. Can you see them on the cutting board? That's lotus root. Isn't it fun when food is beautiful and pretty? I mean, you know, you eat with your eyes first. So if it's beautiful and pretty, you're going to want to eat it. Okay, so the recipe is my recipe of the month on my website, which is macroval.com. I'm going to screen share screen. Here's my recipe of the month so that we can see what it looks like. February, lotus root, ume vinegar pickles. You slice the lotus root, place the sliced lotus root in a jar, add the ume vinegar in the water, put weight on top of it, and then you let it sit on the counter 12 to 24 hours. That's the recipe of the month. Okay, so let's take our jar and we'll start putting the sliced lotus root into the jar like so. Okay, so I told you lotus root is really good for your lungs. So my experience with lotus root happened many years ago where I had learned that it was fantastic for your lungs and everything, but I put it to the test. I was cleaning my house and I was dusting a ceiling fan that was very, very dusty. And all this dust like fell on me and I was sneezing up a storm. It was really, really affecting my sinuses. Dust has a way of doing that with me, but this was a lot of dust. So I made myself some lotus root tea and I drank the tea. I would say it was about an hour, all the sneezing and mucus and that I was dealing with was all alleviated from the lotus root tea. I just thought that was amazing. I loved it. That was my personal experience. Do you see how they're in there? Got two little half slices. We'll put there in there too. Okay. That's how simple it is. You layer the lotus root into the jar, and then you take 3 tablespoons of ume vinegar. 1, 2, 3, and 3 tablespoons of water. 1, 2, 3. You take your jar with the water in it and you put it on there like so, and you give it weight. Okay. Now, within probably in a couple minutes, you're going to see that liquid. See, the liquid is here. It's not covering all of the lotus root yet, but the salty brine from the ume vinegar, that salt pulls out the juices from the lotus root. And that juice is going to expand, and it's going to cover all of the lotus root. Now, that's very important. That needs to happen. All of the lotus root slices need to be covered with that salty brine so that the lotus root ferments and does not spoil. So the salt will prevent it from spoiling. You want it covered so that it naturally ferments. Okay, so within a half hour, you should definitely have enough liquid to cover all the lotus root. If you don't, add 1 more tablespoon of ume vinegar and 1 more tablespoon of water. They work in combination together. Okay, so just add a little bit more of your salty brine. And then put the weight back on top of it. You can also push down, maybe give it more weight, will help produce more of the natural juices out of there also. And then, 12 to 24 hours, this sits on the counter. And then after you eat your fermented pickle after you eat. You sit down and you have your delicious meal, which consists of, on your plate, mostly whole grains, complex carbohydrates, vegetables, and a protein food. And you eat your delicious, healthy, organic whole foods. And then you have 1 or 2 slices of the lotus root pickles. They're full of enzymes and amino acids. They help aid in digestion. They help to satisfy all 5 of your tastes because the naturally fermented pickles are salty, sour, pungent, bitter, and sweet. They're all 5 of the flavors. And whenever you sit down to eat, you need to satisfy all 5 of your flavors so that you feel completely satisfied after your meal, and thus you reduce cravings. When you satisfy all 5 of your flavors, you eliminate cravings. So that's another reason why we eat the pickle at the end of the meal. All right, so the tea's been sitting here for a few minutes. It should be cool enough for me to taste now. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's really good. See, it doesn't have a bad taste. It's got a really good taste, the lotus root. But again, the package on the lotus root powder says to add 1 teaspoon. I have never done that. That would be too powerful. That would be too strong. I don't think you need 1 teaspoon. That's just my personal advice from my experience. And, people who attend my cooking classes or follow me or can hear, when I have been doing this for 30 years, I can give you recommendations like this that might be able to save you a little bit in the long run if you're using half a teaspoon instead of 1 teaspoon. I don't think you need the whole teaspoon in your tea. Half a teaspoon is plenty. And the cinnamon stick, oh, that adds so much. Oh, and the fresh ginger juice I mentioned too, very, very good. That is just wonderful. Yeah, so thank you so much if you're tuning in right now. And if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button. And so I can keep you updated with what's going on. I try and go live twice a month to share with you a recipe. Scroll back through all my other previous videos. I've shared many videos with lots of wonderful information such as this. And I also teach cooking classes on a regular basis. Every month I have cooking classes. I got to tell you, last week I taught the stuffed cabbage cooking class. And it was a long class because stuffed cabbage is very involved. And not only did we do stuffed cabbage, we did a side dish that had orange sweet potato, purple sweet potato, and parsnip. And it was like in an au gratin sauce. And we had chocolate pudding because it was a Valentine's Day dinner. And one of the students who attended the stuffed cabbage cooking class, he said that, he's half Polish. And he remembers as the child, his parents and grandparents making the stuffed cabbage. And we sat down to eat the meal because if you attend the in-person cooking class here in Michigan, you get to eat the food. We sat down to eat this stuffed cabbage, and he said, I think stuffed cabbage is now ruined for me, Val, because nobody else's stuffed cabbage is ever going to compare to how delicious this is. That's what he said. He said it was it was the most delicious stuffed cabbage he'd ever had, which I found as a great compliment, and I greatly appreciated that. Then you can attend my in-person cooking classes, obviously, if you're here in Michigan. But if you're not in Michigan, I also have virtual cooking classes. And the class that I have next week on Thursday, February 20th, is all about burdock root. Do you know what burdock root is? Have you had it? Look at this. This is burdock root. Look how long it is. One of my favorite wintertime foods is burdock root. I'm going to teach you how to make the traditional dish kimpira, which is burdock and carrot, but it's very traditional. It's a Japanese dish. There's many different ways that people make it, and I always try and make my recipes simple and easy and yet very flavorful. I've made kimpira so many times, and I've changed it up just a little bit, trying to perfect it, trying to make it the most delicious, the most flavorful with some unique cooking techniques. And I'm going to teach you how to do that next Thursday. I'm also going to teach you how to make a soup. Now, this soup is a complete meal. The soup features burdock. It also has sweet potato in it. So it's burdock and naturally sweet potatoes. It's got carrots. It has a sea vegetable in it. And it also has brown rice with some other delicious vegetables too. And I season it with a little bit of mellow miso. So this recipe is absolutely delicious. It's the perfect wintertime soup for right now. It's just absolutely fabulous. Now this class is from 6 until 7:30. So that's an hour and a half. That's Eastern Standard Time, starts at 6. You will get the recipe ahead of time the day before. So if you want to go and buy the ingredients and cook along with me, you can do that. I have some people that do that, which is really exciting because then they get to eat and sample the food, right? So this is the virtual class coming up next Thursday, the 20th, all about burdock root. I'm going to tell you all about the health benefits, why it's so good for you, why you want to start eating burdock root. Speaking of health benefits, Athena. Hi, Athena. We'll be taking the burdock class. Awesome. Thank you, Athena, for commenting and tuning in. Greatly appreciate it. Athena, if you just got here, I already showed and demonstrated how to make the pickles. So go on my website, macroval.com. The recipe's there. And you can also, when the video is done, you can go back and watch how I made the lotus root pickles. But I haven't explained the incredible health benefits of lotus root yet. So let me go through the health benefits, and you'll understand why you want to start eating lotus root on a regular basis. So I've already told you how wonderful it is for your lungs and to break up congestion. That's what it's known for. It's fantastic. Okay. Now it also has antioxidant properties, so it fights off disease, has antimicrobial and also anti-inflammatory properties. It's like I said, it's really good if you have a cough, if it's in your lung, if it's bronchitis or something like that. You want the lotus root. It has TANNIN. It has tannin in it. Now, I know that some of these things, sometimes you have to be a scientist to understand this stuff. And this tannin is known for being in other plants. It's basically a type of fiber. It's an insoluble fiber. And we know that insoluble fiber is fantastic to help us fight off things like cancer. It's fantastic for our digestion. You find this in lotus root, okay? And this is one of the things that's in lotus root. Now, something I found really interesting is lotus root will also help stop bleeding. So God forbid, if anything happens and you cut yourself, it'll stop bleeding, which, by the way, I am wearing a Band-Aid because the other day I accidentally cut myself. I used nori and comfrey when I cut myself. That's what I use all the time. But doing some research on lotus root, I found out that will also stop bleeding if you ever have an accident or something like that. It also will help treat ulcers. It's really good for your bowels. It can help protect you against aging. Okay, so it's anti-aging food because it helps to build and repair your DNA. I think we all need to start eating some more lotus root when we hear that, right? So yeah, that's lotus root and the lotus root tea, which is yummy, yummy, yummy. Now, I'm super excited about something else that hasn't happened yet. And so far, I pretty much have only talked about it on my live videos, and I mentioned it in my cooking class. But I am coming out with my next cookbook. I have 6 cookbooks now. Number 7 is coming out, and it's all about sea vegetables. I have been creating these recipes, and I don't have anybody to share them with. So right now, I'm going to share a few of the recipes that are going to be in the upcoming sea vegetable cookbook. This one here features lotus root. Look at that. This is a sweet and sour burdock, lotus root, and aramay dish served over brown rice. Yep. Lotus root, burdock, and aramay. This is one of the recipes in the upcoming cookbook. This one I just created last night. I'm super excited. I have to get this book done like ASAP. Like by this weekend, I have to have it all done. So I'm in the final phase where I have all these ideas in my head for recipes. This is a type of sushi nori roll. I have in the cookbook my recipe for sushi nori rolls. It's one I've been teaching for many, many years, but this one's new. It's like a little roundup. See, it's completely enclosed. It's nori, and what's inside in the middle? Millet and tempeh with some vegetables. Yep. Millet, tempeh, and vegetables in there. And there's also a tofu sauce, a white tofu sauce for this one. That's coming up in the cookbook. Now, one thing I'm having so much fun with the cookbook is not only do I have savory sea vegetable recipes, because most people think of sea vegetables, they think of savory. I already had a repertoire of a bunch of sea vegetable desserts. They're old recipes. I've been creating recipes for 30 years now, you guys. 30 years. I have 30 years of recipes I've created. I have so many recipes that would blow your mind. But I took out some of these old recipes and I, kind of redid them, updated them, but they're still absolutely delicious. Peanut butter mousse. Yep. Peanut butter mousse. And it has a sea vegetable in it. This is one of my all-time favorite recipes. Okay. This is a chocolate candy with walnuts, raisins, and nori. Yep. Chocolate, walnuts, raisins, and nori. And this one is a crunchy, crisp candy with nori. Okay. And it's got pecans and sunflower seeds. It's like a brittle with the sea vegetable nori. Yeah. So how are you going to know about my upcoming cookbook that's coming out? You need to sign up for my newsletter on my website. You will be the first to know when the new cookbook comes out. It's coming out, scheduled release date March 1st. Let's go to my website. I'm going to share the screen. Look at this. When you first go to my website, this is what it looks like. And you scroll all the way down to the bottom and it says sign up for Macrovell's newsletter. Put your name and your email address right there. You will know when the new sea vegetable cookbook is coming out. Okay. You will be the first to know. You'll be, and it's, I'm going to release it as an e-cookbook first. So you're going to be able to get it a digital cookbook if you want. This is my first e-cookbook that I've ever done. And then after I release it in an e-cookbook, I am going to submit it and get a hard copy. So then there will be the option of both. But when it's first released, it's going to be an e-cookbook, just so you know. So I've been making these recipes and I'm super excited. We just wanted to share a little bit about all the recipes I've been making. Very excited about that. And let's see, what else did I want to share with you? I wanted to share some updates. I think that's all I wanted to share about that. Yeah, let's check the liquid on the pickle. It's getting there. We might have to add here. Okay, the liquid's here and the lotus root is here. It's already come up from here to here. It needs to come up just a little bit more. It needs to cover all the pieces of lotus root in there. Okay, Substack blog. I also have a blog, and you can subscribe to the blog. I'm looking for, yep, here it is. I'm going to share the screen. So this was my latest blog that I came out with that I want to talk to you about these two topics. Bayer Monsanto wants immunity from lawsuits. So these big ag companies basically don't want us to be able to sue them if they poison us with their chemicals, and you need to take action. And the update on the 400 Canadian ostriches. I'm going to talk about the ostriches first. I do believe 2 weeks ago when I went live, I talked about the ostriches. So 2 weeks ago, 400 ostriches in Canada were scheduled to be killed because supposedly they had bird flu, but that was tested on ostriches that had died, and they won't let them test anymore. Well, thank God that date was stopped. So they were saved for now, but the fight is not over with. So here, the 400 Canadian ostriches, these are what people did. People made signs like this, save our ostriches. And look at this beautiful drawing. So it's not over. They have paused the cull. They call it cull or culling. It's killing. They want to kill the ostriches. So they had the judicial review to fight for their lives. There is a form letter you can send to the Canadian authorities to help save these ostriches. You do not have to live in Canada to take action. Please, anybody and everybody who is watching this video or hears my voice, go to this website. It will take you less than 5 minutes to fill out this information to save these 400 beautiful ostriches. I've done it. I don't live in Canada. They are currently granted a 30-day stay of execution, but that only delays their death date. Now, CFIA is asking the judge to clarify that the stay of execution applies only to the farmers not being required to kill them, but does not restrain the CFIA from killing them. So basically, this is not over with. Here's another beautiful picture that someone has made. They've drawn this. Previously exempt from CIFA's culling activities since they were deemed genetically important, CIFA then declared that the ostriches were no longer genetically important and should all be murdered. This is unscientific and absolutely insane. Your help is urgently needed, and it makes a difference when your voice is heard, okay? So please, if you can, that's my Substack blog. I will go to the Save Our Ostriches website now. Here it is, Save Our Ostriches. Urgent call to action. This is what I put in my Substack blog. They also have a GoFundMe. You can give them a donation. Important updates. That was in my blog. Here it is. This is all you have to do. Name, email, address. That's it. And you can voice your opinion and tell them to save these beautiful ostriches. 400 ostriches that all have names. They've been on this farm for, some of them, 30 years. These are all healthy ostriches. There is nothing wrong with them, and they want to kill them. It's heartbreaking. It's very upsetting. And so I'm telling everybody I know about this so that everybody can see what's happening. So that is the update on the ostriches. Now there's something else happening that was drawn to my attention from Moms Across America. Moms Across America is a nonprofit group that is created by Zen Honeycutt. I've gotten to know Zen because I've been a special guest on their Monday night calls a few times. They stand up for organic food. They've done some testing of food. They want basically, they let us know everything and anything that's happening, and they're very active. And I love them because it's all organic. Get rid of the chemicals. Get rid of glyphosate. So Big Ag wants the same immunity as vaccine companies. So I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's something called the 1986 Act that was passed that basically gives vaccine companies immunity, so you cannot sue them. Well, Big Ag, Bayer, and Monsanto want the same immunity. They don't want you to be able to sue them. And so there are 7 states right now that are introducing a bill to push this through. Now, Wyoming was going to do this, but because so many people called and sent emails, Wyoming has canceled the bill. Do you see this? From public feedback, this bill was canceled in Wyoming. Now, there's other states. There's Mississippi, there's Iowa, there's Missouri, North Dakota, Oklahoma, that was killed there, Tennessee, and Florida. This right here is a call to action. Post on social media, share to email, share this to anybody and everybody you know. Let's get the word out, and then take action and fill out the form. And the link to Moms Across America is in the description of this video if you're watching this on YouTube. And also on my Substack blog, I give you links to all of this. So you can just go to my Substack blog also. Right here is if you subscribe to my blog, you'll know all about things like this. Here, Moms Across America, there's the link, take action, Moms Across America right there. The Wyoming bill, here it is, Moms Across America. You know, I put the link on there in multiple places for you to take action and stop this from happening. You know, we need to be aware of these things. We need to take action, and we need to do something about it because public opinion matters. Remember, last year I was talking all about appeal, which is the toxic coating they wanted to put on our vegetables. And every time I teach a cooking class, I pass out flyers and I inform people about appeal, which is a toxic coating. And because of customer feedback, big store chains like Costco, which were going to use appeal on their produce, they had so many customers call and so many customers complain and say, not only will we not buy your produce, we won't shop at your store if you use appeal. Costco now has said that they will not use appeal on any of their produce. So if you think your voice doesn't matter, you are wrong. You need to stand up and say something. So I want to share these things with you. Please, it takes less than 5 minutes to go fill out that form to save those ostriches. 400 beautiful ostriches in Canada. And it takes a few minutes. It's going to take a few minutes longer because you have to fill out a few more things, but also Moms Across America. And let's help, keep it so that we live in a country where if we get sick from a chemical that's sprayed on our food, we have the right to do something about it and sue them. Nobody is above the law, and nobody should have immunity from hurting people. All right, so let's look at our pickles. We still don't have enough liquid on there. So I'm going to go ahead and do what I told you earlier in the video. I'm going to add 1 more tablespoon of the ume vinegar and 1 tablespoon of water. Remember, they work together, and the recipe is on the website. So now we will definitely have enough liquid to cover those, and they sit on your counter 12 to 24 hours. They sit on your counter. Okay, that's what we do. Can you hear my cat? That's Zena. Zena making her presence known. Here's Zena, warrior princess. Zena. This is one of my cats. Hi, Zena. Hi. Can you see? It's the camera. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Hit the like button if you haven't yet. And make sure you sign up for my newsletter so we stay connected and you know everything that I'm doing. So thank you so much. I'm going to end the video now. And remember, get in the kitchen and cook healthy.